Shalom, Israel. It is your man, Yudah Yasharel. And guess who's sitting here with me? My wife, Marina Yasharel. You know, I just did a video on Psalms 81 and verse 3. But as I was laying down, resting, thinking about what I just did, I realized there's a lot of information that is hidden. And it seems like our people don't know. They still don't get it. They've been lying to us from day one. Nothing's changed. They're still lying today. Their goal is the same today as it was way back then. Come, let us destroy them as a nation, that they will be remembered no more. Now, I didn't say that quite the way it was said in the scripture, but you know what I'm saying. So what I'm trying to get you to see is nothing has changed except the time. Time will always change, but the people remain the same. There are goals, there are agendas, it stays the same. If they started out trying to destroy you way back then, what makes you think that they stopped? They haven't stopped. So how do they do this? How do they get us to stay separated from each other, fighting each other, confusing each other? Well, it's with books. You know the old saying, if you want to hide something from a nigger, put it in a book? Well, it's no secret that we were not known as avid readers. And why is that? Think back to the time of slavery, when they brought us here into these land of captivities. They took away all the books, and they dared you to read a book. If they caught you with a book, they would kill you. What were they doing? They were programming your mind to adhere to their strict rules. Do not read. Why did they not want you to read? Because there's information they don't want you to see. And if they can keep you dumbed down, not reading, not understanding, then they could pass this off and you would not see it. There's an old saying, the hand is quicker than the eye. What wrote this New Testament? It was the hand of the Romans, and it was much quicker than the eye. Our people have not caught on yet. So, why am I bringing this up? Why is this titled Understanding the Trick? I need you to see how you were tricked. You read the King James and other books, which I'm not aware of. I know there's other books. But I'm going to start with the King James. That book was written for the Queen of England. Do you think the Queen of England has your best interest at heart? No. The Queen of England wanted that book to express her desires for the nation of Britain. It didn't matter to her if it was true or false. And to prove my point, when the Most High told the nations, I'm only the God of Israel, what was he telling you? What was he telling them? He was telling Israel, I'm only the God of Israel. And he was telling the nations, you got to go find your own God. Excuse me. Which is what they were already doing. You know, I was looking over a list of the Egyptian gods yesterday. And there's like 1,500. And they're both male and female. And then there's some, yes, believe it or not, that are both male and female. So when the true God says, go find your own God, I'm not your God. I am only the God of Israel. So what would you do if that was your circumstances? You know you needed some kind of savior. And I'm speaking on the nation's behalf, not Israel. Israel had a God, a true one that can save. But Egyptians, Romans, and all the others, they did not have that. But you got to remember, their initial point in the beginning was to destroy Israel. Josephus told them, if you want to destroy them, you have to get them to sin against their God. So the Romans said, well, how do we do that? Josephus said, give them a new God. And therefore was born JC. And our people fell for it. Now they're so indoctrinated that they can't come out. It doesn't matter how you bring the truth to Israel. They always find a way to dispute it. Which brings me to another subject. I asked myself a few days ago, me and my wife, as we do day to day, in this book we were studying, and the thought came up, what could have been so powerful after Israel witnessed physically, firsthand, all the miracles the Most High did? They saw it. They were there. After seeing all that, what could possibly pull them away to idolatry? That question has got to have crossed your minds. What is so powerful that it pulls you away from a God that has shown you, not told you, but showed you his powers, and you still go astray? And it's a kind of a long story, so I'm going to make it brief. We determined that, and I want you to think about this. We determined the prophets, some of them had children, some of them had wives. Moses was one. He had 2 sons. So Moses was called by the Most High, and his plate was full. So he had to leave his family. Well, if you think about it, it is the man's responsibility to be in the household to help raise and rear those children, right? Okay, so but now there's a difference. When the Most High calls you to perform a certain duty, sometimes you have to leave your wife and your children. Where did that leave the kids? Well, let me just keep you informed on the truth. When the Most High calls you, he provides everything you need. Now, y'all stay with me because I'm going somewhere with this. When the Most High calls you, he performs every need. You don't need nothing that he cannot provide. So when he called Moses out to go and serve him, to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. You think he left his children unprotected, untrained, untaught? What kind of God would do that? So surely he made sure Moses' kids learned what they needed. Now, that does not mean they followed that. It doesn't mean that just because they were given the truth that they accepted the truth. And see, this is the problem we have today. You can be given the truth, but do you accept the truth? Now, where am I going with this? Well, Moses was called to perform some jobs for the Most High, which he had to leave home, his wife and his children. I know the Most High provided for them. Now, I can't tell you how he did it. All I can tell you is that I'm sure he did. But now let's try to look at that in today's time. You got situations that now require both father and mother to go out and work. And the kids are left at home. Who's teaching the kids? Who's teaching the kids? Is it the television? Or is it the influence of other kids in the streets? Somebody is influencing your children. Now, I know this for a fact. If you are in the truth, and you and your husband or you and your wife have to now provide income for the family, which leaves your children out of your influence. I know this for a fact. If you do what you are commanded to do, the Most High will provide the teaching for your children. They won't be left out. So what was it that drew Israel into captivity so often after they saw the works of the Most High? I'll tell you. It was the elders and the kings. It started there. They were drawn into idol worship. And if you go back and look, it's all through the Torah. They were drawn into idol worship, worshiping other gods, and all this crap. And what did their kids do? Since they didn't have parents to keep the Torah taught to them. Because the Most High says, remember my Torah throughout your generations. So since the elders and the kings and all these high authorities were not doing what they were supposed to do, where did that leave the children? Now, let's think of this in the terms of kids. Let's say you have 2 children in your household, 1 3 and 1 5. And you're teaching them the Torah. You're teaching them the scriptures, the truth. You're teaching them, don't celebrate Christmas, don't celebrate your birthday, don't keep Valentine's Day. All of these demonic days. You're teaching them all these days. But then they look out the window and they see their friends across the street with their new Christmas toys. But now you and your husband or you and your wife, y'all have to go to work. You can't be in school with them. So what's happening here? Your children are looking across the street and they see all of these kids laughing, playing with their new toys, their Christmas toys, their celebrating Thanksgiving, whatever this occasion might be, your kids, they see that. So now just try to put yourself in your kids' place. Now you got to think like a kid. The Most High wants us to think like a child. Your children are looking over there, seeing, not hearing, they're seeing all these kids with their new toys on Christmas Day, having fun, while you and your children are in this house studying a book full of words. Are you getting the picture? I'm trying to show you what it was that kept Israel in captivity. It was not the elders alone. It was not the kings alone. But it was because of the kings and the elders that slacked on their responsibility. They were supposed to teach their children throughout their generations. But what did they do? They failed. They strayed. They went a-whoring to the other nations. So where did that leave the children? Remember, the children is looking across the street, seeing all the other kids having fun. Kids love to have fun. You think Lucifer don't know that? So what does Lucifer do? He used fun and music to snare your children. So while you are at work, your children is watching how the other half lives. I wasn't intending for this to be a long lesson, but it just could turn out to be. Because the more I talk, the more I realize I have to say. Lucifer understands the influence on children. So think back. Think all the way back to when you were a child. When you saw television commercials, where did the commercials point? They pointed to the children. Why? Because if you want to get to the parents, get to the children first. So they advertise toys. And now what does that do for you? What does that do to you? Now because you're so caught up in worldly events, you now think that I can't do my child that way. I'm looking at these kids across the street. They got all these new gifts. They got all these toys. And my kids are sitting here with nothing. Your emotions have come into play. And your emotions is not your friend. It is your enemy. Because it is your emotions that enables you to bite the bait, the trick of the enemy. You fell into the trap of your emotions. You fail to realize, yes, your children may look across the street and see other children playing with toys, having fun, but you did not look far enough ahead to realize what was their end, what was going to happen in the end. They were headed for doom. And you were so caught up in the now that you did not see the later. And that's where we go wrong. This is what the Most High meant when he says, those of you who endure until the end shall be saved. You have to resist the temptation. What is that your children see across the street? It's temptation. What are you doing to block that temptation? Nothing. You're feeling guilty. You're feeling remorse. You're feeling sad because my children don't have no new toys. So now you're going to play into the hand of the later. That's doom. People, I don't know any other way to get you to understand. The books that we read determines the path that we take. If you cannot realize there are books that lead you astray, and then there's books that lead you to the truth, it is your responsibility to seek them out. The Most High has planted teachers on this planet in these days to show you the way. You know the old saying, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink? I can show you the way, but I can't make you choose it. Choosing is on you. Showing is on me. As long as I do my part, I am good. I don't care if you come back at me with all of these questions and debates and insults. I really don't care, because I know I did my part. I showed you the way. But I can't make you take that way. See, there is a limit to how far I can go. I can only show you. I cannot force you. Most High did not make robots. He gave every living being on the planet free will and free choice. Why do you think he did that? He did not want you to come to him because you didn't have a choice. He wanted you to come to him because you chose. Of all the things presented to you, you chose him. That's what he wanted. You have to pass that down to your children. I'll be the first to admit, it is not an easy task. I have children. They're not children anymore, but I've been through that. So I know what it's like. I'm not telling you something I haven't experienced for myself. I know exactly what it feels like. It hurts. It hurts to look across the street and see these kids with all these new toys, and your children don't have any. I know how it feels. But it doesn't change the fact that you that yield to temptation, you will not be saved. Temptation is the one thing that we were told to avoid. Am I right or am I wrong? If you read the scriptures, then you know I'm right. Temptation is the one thing that we were supposed to avoid. What is it when you see Christmas and all these other holidays that entice your children? They want to be a part of it. They want to do an Easter egg hunt. And I've had people tell me, oh, I don't do this for me. I don't worship these days. I do it for my children. So, but now, let me ask you this. You love your children, yet you lead them to the fire? How can you tell me you love your children and you understand what the scripture is saying, and you still lead your children to their death? And I'm not talking about just a simple, I die and it's over. You die, and then there's a price to pay after. You see, there is two lives. There's two lives. Death is not the end. Death, whether you know it or not, is the beginning. The life you live in now, when you die in this life, you are just starting a beginning, because it is the life that comes after the death here that dictates the rest of your life. That's where we go wrong. We think that when we die here, it's over. Let me tell you something, people. This is not life. This is the first course. When you die, your real life begins. That's why you need to make sure where you wake up at. You need to make sure that when you give up the ghost in this life, that you wake up in your second and permanent life, that you wake up in the right place. So don't let the sad faces on your children, because if you love them, you're going to do what's best for them. That does not mean it's not going to hurt. It is going to hurt when you see kids playing with toys and yours don't have no toys. That's going to hurt. But what is the most important thing? Where you wake up. Because when you die in this life, you're going to wake up. But when you wake up, it's going to be a whole new life. And that's where you're going to see your regrets. So this is the reason why I do what I do. This is why I take the time out of my life. Hey, listen, ain't nobody paying me. I'm spending money out of my pocket to create these lessons. I haven't asked y'all for one dime. So it ain't about money, is it? So if it ain't about money, what do you think this is for? Is it possible somebody really cares about your soul? Something to think about. Is it possible that there are some people on this planet that cares less for money and more for you? Why do you think I'm telling you this? I'm not calling names, but every one of you know you haven't sent me one dime. And that's okay. That's not why I'm doing this. So why am I doing this? I care about you. I care about your children. I care about your future. Your life right now in the physical is not your future. This is your present. You have a future coming. That's the one you need to be concerned about. You need to get all of your ducks in a row right now before this ends and your real life begins. How do you do that? Well, you can start by understanding the trick. What is the trick? Come on, people. They've been tricking us for centuries. They have given us false books, fables. The Torah itself called the New Testament a fable. Do you know what a fable is? It is a fictional book written by fictional people. How do you explain all through the Torah, the prophets were named Hebrew names? And then when you get to the New Testament, all of a sudden, all the names are European. Somebody explain that to me. Somebody who thinks the New Testament is JC, explain to me why all of a sudden the names went from Hebrew to European. Explain that to me. I'm nobody's trick. Y'all underestimate me. There are other teachers out there that underestimated me. I do what I'm told. There's a lot I want to say, but it's not my choice. I do what I'm told. And the Most High is my guide. He tells me what to say and when to say it, which is why I don't do videos every day, because I don't put these lessons together on my own accord, on my own understanding, on my own thoughts and opinions. I wait until he says, I've got a message for the people. And something else I want to talk about too. This came to me a couple of days ago. Now, I'm not absolute about this, but I have a very strong feeling. There's a famine of the word coming, and I did a video about this in my old channel. I'm bringing this up because I believe the Most High is getting ready to cut the teaching off. The true teachers will back down and go quiet. They will go dark. And all that's left will be false prophets. I believe we're getting to that point where we're going to be called out of this. And why am I saying that? Well, because I do believe that the Most High feels like he has sent enough messages. He have given enough warnings. And you know, the Most High does not need to wait on you. You need to wait on him. So if you haven't got the message by now, it might be too late. I got a feeling that the teachings, the true teachings, not just the teachings, I got a feeling that the true teachings of and from the Most High is about to come to an end. Now, I want to just throw something in here. All of you are aware about the Russian invasion on Ukraine. That's big news, so I know you know. I have insight, not physical from some news reporter or anything like that, but I have spiritual insight. And I really pray and hope that you can see what I see. But I'm going to tell you this. The Russians invading the Ukraine. Now, these are the same people. They're all the same people. Who cares? The Most High already said that he's going to call them to war against one another. I see that happening. I did a video a few days ago that I think it was titled, Why Should Israel Fear? It has nothing to do with you unless you're not in the truth. Then you will go with them. You'll be caught up in that scenario. But why do you think Russia will stop at the Ukraine? There's Moldova. Remember, Moldova used to be part of Russia. They're now independent. Do you not think Russia is going to, if they take Ukraine, do you think they won't take Moldova? Come on, people, use your brain. And if he takes Moldova, there's a few other places along that stretch that used to be part of the Russian continent when they were what was it? USSR. I can't remember all that. But what I'm trying to tell you, they're not going to stop there. And guess what happens when they do that? When they take Moldova, China is going to take Taiwan. Oh, yeah. Now when China takes Taiwan, guess what? The U.S. ain't got no choice but to get involved. Does that sound like World War III to you? Sure sounds like it to me. But you know, you make your own interpretations. I'm just a nobody. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's why I keep having to explain the new moon over and over and over. Because people think I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, this information that's coming out of my mouth is not my words. So why was Israel continually drawn into captivity? The elders were too busy seeking their own pleasures. That left the kids unattended. The mother was never the sole responsibility of the children. It was the father and the mother. But the father was the key. So what happened when the father went off and ventured into his own lust, his own desires? The kids were left unattended. And all of y'all know today, especially your mothers, if you got children, they won't listen to you until daddy speaks. Y'all know it. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Mama can scream all day long and them kids gonna still act a fool. But the minute daddy says, hey, everything stops. So this is what I see. I see the lack of the father in the child's life. So now the child is looking across the street, seeing all of this activity, all of this fun. And as a child thinks, without any influence or any training, they go toward the path of least restriction, least resistance. They go and they gravitate toward the fun. You did it, I did it, all of our children did it. Nothing has changed except the time. Time is the only thing that changed. People have not changed. They're still doing the same thing. They're just doing it in different ways. But the minute the father stepped back into those children's lives and started executing law, not their law, the Most High's law, we will be back on track. I really don't see that happening very soon. Which is why the Most High says only a few, 1/3 of Israel, my people, are going to make it back. 2/3 are going to be destroyed because they don't get this. I'm doing this lesson right now, and this is the most different lesson I have ever done. But I need you to understand, I realize where the gap is. I now understand how Israel kept going into captivity. It was through the children. How do you think the world gets to you? They go through your children. I have had mothers tell me when I show them the truth of the scripture, you know what they told me? I don't do it for me. I don't I don't worship these days, but I do it for my kids. And they tell me they love their kids while they are teaching their kids to break the laws, statutes, and commandments. How is that love? When the Most High says that anybody that goes against my laws, statutes, and commandments, I will destroy. So you're telling me that you love your children, yet you lead them to the slaughter. How am I supposed to make sense of that? How do you not understand that? Don't you see that's how Lucifer plays on your emotions? Oh, they'll do it for the kids. I'm going to tell you something. I don't do these lessons for fame, fortune, and y'all know I don't make a dime. I can barely produce these videos when I do. I have ink, printers, and paper, and everything else that I have to keep notes. I have internet calls. I have all this stuff. Why do you think I do this? Because I truly love my people. I don't come on here and teach you about my dog is taking me for a walk. I don't come here telling you that you should send me sin offerings when I'm not a priest. Man, y'all better wake up. Y'all better wake up. Y'all don't know how close it is. This time is at the end. They are talking about the war between Russia and Ukraine is fake. I saw that. Raptor News Sun, Remedy H, all these dumbasses talking about the wooden guns that they were shown. And you know what? They did have wooden guns. Do you know why? This was 2 weeks. This was 2 weeks before the invasion of Ukraine. Remember when the Ukraine President Zelensky said, anybody who wants a weapon, come and I will give you one. Do you think that they're going to hand out weapons to untrained civilians? The cardboard weapons were not a fake thing. It was a picture that was taken by the media while the Ukrainian government was training civilians how to handle weapons. Tactics. They wasn't going to put live weapons in these fresh, untrained people's hands. Wake up. And now Remedy H is out there talking about it's all fake. They got cardboard weapons. He's a dumbass. People, they're throwing you off guard so you can be caught off guard. They're working for the demons. Only the demons want to catch you off guard. The Most High wants to put you on guard. With that being said, I'm done with this. Shalom.